The Iranians and essentially the rest of the world are more than anxious, awaiting the execution of President Trump's threat as to, if Iran does not cease and desist from continuing to block the Strait of Hormuz, is going to go after all the power plants in Iran and all the, bridges in Iran, sometimes on Tuesday, 8 p.m. American time. But you see, before President Trump goes on to actually, make through a strait, it is important that we discuss what exactly is President Trump and the American bureaucracy doing in Iran. What is in Iran for them? If we are able to understand and answer this question, then we will be able to essentially track, as to whether America will or has succeeded in what it wants to gain in Iran or not. Let us start this way. You see, about the first thing America is interested in Iran is its oil. But it is not interested in Iran's oil just because of its oil. Iran is the third largest owner of the biggest reserves in the world. Number one and number two are Venezuela and the United and the Saudi Arabia. Iran is number three. Now, what does America want to do with Iran's oil? Especially because America has its own oil. America even just took charge of Venezuelan oil, with Venezuela having the biggest reserves in the world. So why is America always oil hungry? I will explain. It is because of America's collective debt. America's national debt. It has become a gargantuan. It has become unsustainable, and America needs a lot of natural resources, but natural resources that the world just cannot do without. For example, we are talking of oil. Oil is about, you see, the world consumes no more than 100 million barrels of crude oil every blessed day. Now, because of that, oil becomes an essential commodity. Oil becomes a commodity the world cannot do without. What the Yorubas call a koshe money, a commodity you just must have and must continue to have at all times. If America is able to snatch and is able to aggregate and is able to gobble up as much oil as possible, increasingly larger amounts of oil, it will be able to offset more and more of its national debt. We are talking of a national debt that is now gradually inching towards $40 trillion. Do you understand what I mean? As in what that means? 40 plus 12 zeros. 40 plus 12 zeros dollars. That is what we are talking about. So America needs that oil desperately. And that is why you will hear President Trump continue to talk of oil, especially when he talks of countries that have substantial reserves of oil. In the case of Iran, it will keep saying left to him, if not that the American people keep saying that he should call the American military back home. It will just take their oil. It will just take their oil. It will just take their oil. That is the first and major reason why America is going after Iran, because of the oil. We are talking of close to 260 something billion barrels of oil. That is one. Number two is essentially to deter America's adversaries. You see, the more of the nations that America captures that are essentially massive repositories of crude oil, the more such countries are not able, to send this same crude oil, to send this same oil to some of the biggest geopolitical competitors of the United States of America. When you talk of such countries, you are talking of two countries majorly, Russia and China. However, Russia again has its own massive repository of oil. So Russia is not oil hungry. The oil hungry country that is the greatest geopolitical competitor of America is actually China. China is a country that is a net importer of oil. China is oil hungry. It does not have a lot of oil, on its territory. And to make matters better, or would you call it worse, China is the biggest factory of the world. So China guzzles and gobbles oil at an astronomical rate. So the more America is able to remove more and more countries that have the biggest oil reserves in the world from the energy mix of China, the more, vulnerable China will be when it comes to its energy mix. And again, that is one of the reasons why China is working desperately hard to ensure that it builds more and more capacity in the area of what? Of renewable energy. When it comes to solar, when it comes to wind power, that is wind turbines, when it comes to nuclear, all these nuclear fission materials, those small as modular nuclear reactors that can produce essentially unlimited volumes of energy. That is why China is trying as much as possible, is working as hard as possible, not to run into the vulnerability ditch, so to say, that America is trying to prepare for it. Number three reason why America is pushing hard to subdue Iran and to ensure that it snatches its sovereignty is because of the Gulf Arab countries and Israel. You see, America wants to ensure that it is the dominant power in that environment. And as a result, every other country that even has the remotest chance, do you understand, of actually, projecting power is suppressed as much as possible. Again, that is what I call extended Monroe Doctrine. America is now projecting power largely via its military bases, that is one. Two, via its economic heft, especially in the guise of sanctions and tariffs, and three, via its dominant socio-cultural, men to essentially subdue the countries in other important regions of the world, so that we are not just talking of America control as in controlling its backyard, but also as much as possible controlling the backyard of others. Do you understand? So America again is trying to do extended Monroe Doctrine, or would you call it, because President Donald Trump is the one in power at this time, extended Donroe Doctrine. Do you understand? To ensure that as much as possible, America is the country that is in charge, not just in the Middle East, not just in the Persian Gulf, but even in Europe, even in Asia, and in other corners and nooks and crannies of the world. So let me summarize those 3 points to you. Why America is actually doing this battle with Iran. Number one, because of America's national debt. It is hefty, approaching $40 trillion, and America needs as much oil as possible, squeezed and garnered from all the countries that have this oil all over the world, to pay as much as possible its national debt. Number two, again, like I said, is so that America can continue to, can continue to project them, to project their power. And again, I also spoke about the extended Donroe or Monroe Doctrine. So that is very important, so that we will understand what exactly America is doing in Iran. In the next video, I'm going to be explaining what is in this war for Israel. I have just explained what is in this war for America. In the next video, I'm going to be telling us what is in this war for Israel. Again, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe, to comment, and to ask your questions, and I'll gladly answer them. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.